When I was your age, it was pretty bad. Yeah. Mischief was fully mischief, Wolf of Wall Street, like.
Oh, really?
Out there. Yeah, and it's also about who I hung with, and as well as I do, you can find those people. You got spare time and you're feeling a bit mischievous in your head, you'll find them. There might not even be someone you hang out with normally, but you know where they are. You know which.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ice Project. I'm fucking pumped for this one. Roll the intro. Welcome to the Ice Project. Catchy?
Who's singing it?
Everyone always asks this question. As one of my friends, he was actually an albino Fijian that got kicked out of his country because in Fiji,
they didn't believe him.
Nah, they thought it was like witchery, and obviously the albinos, they try and get their bones because they think it's like witchcraft and stuff like that. So his family fled to Australia, and he just does mad singing.
Seriously?
Yeah, ended up on The Voice and stuff as well. So pretty cool guy.
Albino Fijian.
Yeah,
that's mad.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I've had him on the podcast before. We were talking. Hey, Marky Bouris, can I call you that, Marky?
Yeah, of course you can, mate.
Thanks for jumping on. Obviously, someone who's as successful as you. Times you're probably
you can
most
call me
valuable
sexy
asset.
if you want.
Sounded like I was leaning that way, wasn't I?
Don't lean that way, okay?
All right, last night Origin. What was your thoughts on that?
It was great. I knew in the first couple of minutes because they were just on. They were bashing them when they kicked off. They bashed them pretty hard in the first 3 or 4 tackles. But I actually thought the combo, as much as I don't like saying about Luke because I love Luke Keary, but I think Nathan, the new 5'8" halfback combination is probably going to work. It works better for Nathan Cleary. I think he's Cody's a bit more like what Nathan gets in Penrith anyway.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, and I actually think, look, I know not many people said, but I reckon Daniel Tubu had the best fucking game.
He was on fire.
He had a grouse game. He's like another forward. I think the 2 wingers in New South Wales, they played such good games.
We talk about Daniel Tupou a lot. It's because he's got that low-key demeanour about him. He's a very humble guy, and he's in a team usually full of superstars. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, does he?
He doesn't call it either. He just sort of walks around pretty humble. He's a humble dude. Actually, even his deportment, the way he walks, is quite a humble guy. And I don't know if you notice, he must be religious because I noticed him when he ran, he blessed himself. So, and he doesn't mind doing that in front of a camera. I like that about him. He sort of hangs in there by his beliefs. But his hit-ups and his height and everything, he's a very powerful wing. I actually think we stood over him on the wings big time. Our forwards aimed up. I love paying us. That was so good seeing us stink, and I don't know, but do
you think they should adjust the rules for Origin? I feel like if you have a fight in Origin, it should be all right.
Totally. I know people can say, you're a thug and all that shit, but mate, a punch in the head. So what's the difference? You hit your head on the ground. If you get a punch in the head, maybe you should have to go to. Maybe you the person who received the punch, you might have to go and get it in the head bin. That's fine. But if it's just 2 blokes having a punch, so fucking what? It's not a big deal. But these guys get hit in the body. Every time we get in the body, the impact to their neck and their head is probably the same as it would be if you got punched in the head anyway. I think his political correctness gone mad.
Yeah, and the other side of it is once they have a fight, usually the team that gets the penalty, that next hit-up's usually the best one anyway. Because the other one's calling out each other, I'll run it straight to you and put a shot on me, and that's usually the best part.
I think it's a political thing within the NRL. The deal is that they don't want parents, mums and dads to say, this isn't a game that I want my kids to play and or watch. It's more about that because you can't say that getting punched in the head's anything's really bad about it in terms of contact sports because we still got boxing, we still got UFC, we still got MMA, and people still wrestle and stuff like that in an amateur sense. So obviously it's not that bad, but I think it's about political correctness and the concern is parents, what parents think about it.
Do you love sort of the fact that Dana White and the UFC allows their sort of fighters to be whoever the fuck they want to be? Do you enjoy that sort of side of it?
I do, but I more recently love UFC. I never used to get it that much because I used to think it was a bit too full on the brutal side. I don't give a shit about violence, but what I mean by that is a little bit brutal just for brutality's sake, especially with some guys on the ground that putting their forearm into them and they're just smashing the shit out of them. I think though that one of the things everybody talks about, boxing gets stitched up all the time, but my gut feeling is it's heavily controlled by Dana White, and as a result of that, you wonder whether it's always fair. I'm never really sure. Look at Mark Hunt. Look at the trouble he's going through. With the drama he had with Brock Lesnar, etc. When allegedly Brock Lesnar was on roids when Mark fought him, which is unfair. The accountability of UFC relative to boxing, it's a bit different. And I just wonder. I'm not saying that these guys get up to mischief, the administration, but I just wonder. It just looks like it's a little bit too stitched up. I guess one of the great things about rugby league is you're never going to see that. Rugby league is not a stitch up. No stitch ups.
All right, your boys, the Roosters, beefsteak of a dynasty.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, you either win or you lose by a long way. I mean, for me, towards the end, we lost by a long way. We weren't in the hunt. I mean, we showed 10 minutes of it either side of the halves. But we just weren't in it. I mean, tired legs, older bodies, injuries, just a long time at it. I mean, who knows what the answer is? Robbo's the one who knows.
Everyone always gets funny you say that. I say this all the time. We bumped into Robbo last week down in Bronte. He was going for a swim and I kind of intersected him and ended up having like a 45-minute conversation with him. Super smart dude, isn't he?
Oh, he's a really intelligent. He was a Dux at St Gregory's College, by the way. So really? And his brother was too. So they're obviously genetically gifted. He's super smart, and he's not just super smart in the way that in his demeanour. Sometimes you think someone's really smart because of their demeanour, like they sort of sit there and they ponder on the question and they answer slowly.
This is exactly what I said to the boys. Like I'd ask him a question and he'll sit there and go like, and then he'll say something and it was so direct and so like concise and it sort of answered the question straight away. He just sort of didn't like blab and sort of go.
He's very economic.
Yeah,
with the way he doesn't waste words, But it's not just that. I mean, his content is well thought through, and it's nearly like he's already thought of the question before you asked it, and he's already got an answer prepared. He does it so efficiently, and it's simple. I mean, that's one of the reasons he's successful because, you're talking to young men who, you know what it's like. You're out in the field, and you're just trying to keep your breath, hold your breath. I mean, if I sat someone down and I said, okay, I want you to get on the running machine, do 10 400s at 15 kilometres an hour, and then whilst you're doing it, I want you to do this maths exam. You're fucking no chance because you're too hard. You're thinking about breathing. Your body goes into that mode. So whatever you're going to do, it's got to be really simple, and that's what a good coach can do. They acknowledge that because when you're on the field, you're just doing your best to catch your breath and not get knocked out or tackle this guy without hurting him, or making sure you stay in the right range between you and your other defenders. That's enough. And if you've got to remember to do 4 or 5 other things, it's pretty tough. I would have thought anyway. Yeah.
So like when I had the conversation with him and walked away, I was just like, oh fuck, that's why they're winning comps. Like the conversation was so interesting that I just wanted to sit there and keep talking to him and pick his brain. And he was super transparent as well. Like I asked him like, I don't know him like tight or anything like that, but there's some of the questions I was asking, he was just transparent about everything, and I was like, "Fuck, this is refreshing."
He's intellectually generous.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, he's very generous with his intellect. Some people are a bit guarded about their intellect. They take the view that, well, that's my intellect, I'm not going to share it with anybody, or I'm not going to allow anybody access to it, or I'll fuck around with you. I'll just only half pie tell you the answer. Because I'm holding back. There's something really. Commercial in confidence about my intellect. But he's not like that. He's a pretty decent, simple, generous dude. And that's why, and the players know it and they respond to him. They love him. They fucking love him. We love him as a board. I mean, he's just, me personally, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board now, but me, from my point of view, I don't really see any reason why he would ever stop being coach of our club. I don't see. I don't know why. I mean, other than not being able to pay him the amount of money he might be able to get anywhere else. But that might be the only thing. But why we would ever not want him to be in our club as a coach, Mark, I just can't see it. And his ability, he really is a kind dude. So he has the players' best interests at heart. I mean, just the way he deals with head knocks. You saw how he dealt with Boyd and all those guys this year. And
I'm glad someone took that decision out of his hands, or was that his own decision to sort of have the 6 months off? Or?
Well, but Boyd's or Trent's?
Boyd's.
It'd be both. It'd be both him and the club. So we have protocols. There are protocols imposed on us, obviously, but there are also protocols that the coach and the rest of the staff. We've got pretty good pretty good medical staff there. Very good medical staff there. And then you sit down and talk to Boyd about it. And I mean, and I guess it's about explaining to him the limitations or the limiting effect of what you might do if you come back too early. And I think Boyd's got nothing to prove either.
No, he's tough as fuck.
And he's done everything: Captain Australia, Captain New South Wales, won a series. Won grand finals. What has he got to prove?
The correlation between business and sports. I've obviously transitioned into business, and you're a lot advanced compared to where I am. But I always use my analogies, transferring them back to sports. What's the correlation that you see between the two? Well,
I guess in a minutiae sense, like in a really refined down sense, I often compare boxing to business. The first thing about boxing is you can, and business, is you can train and have as many people around you as you want if you're the proprietor in your case. You can all fucking rah-rah and skip with everybody and fucking high-five and, fuck around the gym and hit the bag and all that shit and then talk a whole lot of stuff. But when you're in the ring, when you're in that square ring, you're on your own. And sometimes you have to make calls. The same in business. You're the boss. You're the owner. You're on your own. Actually, you're on your own. You have a lot of other people trying to high-five and stuff, but you're on your own. If it fucks up, it's your mistake. It's your problem, and you got to sort it.
And that's the way it should be.
Totally. But if you don't understand that, get out. And it's the same as all these blokes. You see lots of people, training and sparring and all that. But once you jump in the ring, it's a bit different, and it's on. And sometimes you got to, this is for me, it's a really good thing. It's why I keep fighting, because it reminds me of this, is that sometimes you got to stand there and take punches. And during COVID, we had to stand there and take punches. There was fucking nothing you could do. That's the best. You just cop it. You've got to learn how to catch them and roll with the punches and be confident and know your time will come, because, they punch themselves out sooner or later. It's, someone's throwing them at you, they're not going to go forever. And you just got to make sure you're still standing and you're in a position to return. Sometimes you've got to return them, and you've got to return them out. And sometimes you've got to attack. And sometimes you've got to get up off the floor. And you get a chance to take a breather too, every 2 or 3 minutes, depending on what it is, 2 or 3 minute rounds. And then you got to get it back up. Because, the round doesn't finish. It's not just one round, you just finish. It's just round after round after round. So I think boxing has a great, and sport generally, I didn't play the footy at the levels that you played, so I never experienced, but it's similar. You've got to do your best. I mean, you're probably in rugby league, maybe the analogy is that, you're in a team and you've got to do everything. You've got to stand in your position in your team. You've got to remember you've got to do what you're supposed to be doing. Don't start trying to do what someone else is supposed to be doing at the same time, because you'll fuck up the game, the game plan. So there are a lot of analogies for sport.
And it's almost like what Mike Tyson said too. It's like everyone's got a game plan until they get punched in the face. Yeah,
totally, mate. Yeah, 100%. And then, by the way, I've seen that many gym boxers, pad guys look unbelievable on the pads and, rip, tear, fast, powerful, fit, skip like fucking crazy and, do all this shit. And then they jump in the ring and they fucking poo their pants, because they get hit on the chin or something. They go, whoa, that fucking hurt. And that's what business is about. Like, I know so many people want to go out and sit up there and be, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be, and they've got great ideas. They're smart, energetic. They got good talkers and all that sort of stuff. They've got all the sort of skills in a row. But when you got to put it together, and actually you're up against the system, either the government or the councils or your competitors, that's when it shows. And it's just a matter of being prepared to make mistakes. As I said, is being prepared and getting sort of used to getting hit and copping it and keep going.
One thing I sort of always carry over and I talk about a lot, and you'll be able to understand this with the team you got at the Roosters, is like sometimes like the best player in the team was not always the best person for the team. So like having the culture in and around you, and obviously the team's always bigger than the individual itself. That's sort of one. And the other one is everything you do off the field matters on the field. So like when I start to go to bed early, when I start eating right, when I start running again, when I start reading books and stuff, like in football, my football improved and obviously results improved, and same with business as well. Like sometimes I'll be going for a run and sales start to improve. There's this weird little hibernation of everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm 65 next birthday, right? And I still live that life not because I'm some fucking saint or probably shouldn't say that word in front of saint, but or I'm sort of holier than thou or just jumped off the cross or something like. is because this is what works. I mean, I don't know anything else, and I'm like you, and I'm up and down too. So like sometimes, you know, I train when I'm training really good, and I'm watching my weight and watching what I eat, and I'm getting up at the right time, and I'm mixing with the right people. People's a big part of it. Outside of work, you know, I feel better at business, and my business is better. And you know, people talk about thinking in abundance. You know, that abundant thinking. You know, like thinking like everything's really going to keep coming my way. I don't think it's because you're thinking abundantly. I think it's because you're good, clean, healthy, more energetic, and you're energetic around everyone around you, and then other people start to respond to you. If you're thinking in negativity, you know, and you're not thinking abundantly, you think like you're closed in and everything's stuffed, and you're not going to make it. Which is why economies go into recessions and stay in recession, because everyone's thinking, oh shit, everything's bad, I better put my hands in my pocket, don't spend. And you actually make it worse. So staying healthy, like you said, outside of the sheds and outside of the footy field, that's a big part of being successful in business for me. And it's, to be honest with you, it's the only thing that works. You can't burn the candle at both ends. You know, you see these movies, you know, like
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, all that shit. Mate, you know, we all know instinctively where it's going to end, because you just can't do all that shit. And they all end up that way. I mean, I've seen 30, 40 people like that in my life who are really good at business, had a great idea, really good backing, blah, 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 and then just start ripping in hard. And year, 18 months, gone ski.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's scary if you're in it, if you can step back from it.
Learn from other people's mistakes. So you said something to me one time when I was on your podcast. I was off air, and you said to me, I feel like you could do more than just run a clothing brand.
Yeah.
And that's fucking stuck with me like every day. And off the back of that, I only had that one business there. I actually ended up building like a thing called YKTR Sports, because I was pissed off at like sports journalism and media and how they portray players and stuff as well. Was that a throwaway statement, or was just...
No. That my deal is...
Because you said it and you just like half walked off again.
Yeah,
I was like,
but I see talent. You know, it's a bit. It might be a bit like Phil Gould or Wayne Bennett when they see a player and they know that, you know, you can do better than you can actually play Origin. You can play for Australia. You know, they make those statements. I mean, I guess I've been around long enough, like those blokes. You know, I'm Gould's age, probably a bit older.
Geez, you look a little bit better than him.
Yeah, well, he's been a good paddock, Gus. But like, I can see talent. I mean, I didn't know that when I was 30. I couldn't see it in 30 or 40. But like, I can see talent. I recognise you got talent. But and I'm not suggesting to you wasting your talent, because, you know, the things that are important to me in an individual like you, you got to have a certain amount of energy to you, intellectual energy. And I don't mean like you're a Rhodes Scholar or something. I mean your brain is ticking over all the time, looking for the angles, looking where to duck in, and, you know, where I can turn him around. And, you know, like you're. I feel like, you know, like if I was in the ring fighting you, I'd throw out a jab and you'd be behind my jab and you'd be sort of tapping me on the shoulder. That's how I feel like you are intellectually. And that to me, people like that have a talent, and they can do lots of things. And what I mean by lots of things is lots of things at the same time. Not just one thing. They have the ability to do 2 or 3 undertakings or 2 or 3 tasks. Most people should only just do one task and try to do it really well. My gut feeling is that you could do more than one thing at a time and do it well.
You do more than one thing at a time?
Oh, I can't operate if I just do one thing at a time. I get bored.
Yeah, I get bored too, yeah.
Well, I'm bored off my fucking head. So, and it's also dangerous, because when I get bored, that's when I get up to mischief.
What's mischief for you?
These days? No, nothing really. But when I was your age, it was pretty bad. Yeah. Mischief was fully mischief, you know. Wolf of Wall Street, you know. Like,
oh, really?
Out there. Yeah, and it's also about who I hung with, you know. Like, and you know as well as I do, you can find those people. You got spare time and you're feeling a bit mischievous in your head, you'll find them. There might not even be someone you hang out with normally, but you know where they are. You know which pub they drink at, or you know what one of their mobile numbers is, blah, blah, blah. And and away you go. And then you get on that scary sort of treadmill.
Shit, I just moved to Bondi too, so I sort of know what you're talking about.
Bondi's all right, but as long as you don't fall into it, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what to avoid. You've been around long enough. You know the joints to avoid anyway. Stay on the Bondi to Tamaramba or the Bondi to Bronte walk.
I've been doing that every morning too at the moment.
Sweet as.
Yeah, nice and clear in the head. So how did you get into business?
Oh, shit. Originally...
Because people see you as a success now. They wouldn't know you come from Punch Bowl, is it?
Oh, yeah, Punch Bowl boy, yeah. Well, my dad was an immigrant to Australia. Didn't go to school. He left a country that was in a civil war in Greece after the World War II. So he was only about 17 or something. He arrived in Australia and he worked in his dad's restaurant, like all good Greek boys do with his 5 brothers. He met Mum in Australia. Mum taught him how to speak English and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. My mother's Irish background. So both labourers. Mum worked in the pub in Bankstown, or top of Bank near Yagoona, a place called Three Swallows Hotel, pretty well-known pub up there in those days. I don't know if it's still there anymore. And Dad just worked in a factory his whole life.
What kind of factory?
A metal factory. So he made the Victor Mole factory, and they used to make parts of Victor Moles and stuff like that. It was a die casting factory. And I used to work there too. We used to live right next to the factory. So the factory was behind us. But my dad was always trying to improve our lives. So like he always had jobs on the side, fencing jobs, like bloody different things, cleaning contracts as well as his daytime job. He was I wouldn't call him an entrepreneur, but he was always doing other things, trying to make more money and try and improve our lives. And over time we moved houses a bit and got into better joints. But I had no idea. I just wanted to play footy when I was 18, 19.
Were you any good?
I played I grew up in Canterbury, Bankstown, obviously. So I played SG ball. I won best first SG ball. A lot of the blokes I played footy with ended up playing first grade, like Graham Hughes and those guys. One of the Hughes boys. And I was in their teams. But when I was 17, my family moved out of Punch Bowl and moved out to Cronulla Way with my really much younger brother and sister, and they went to school at Cronulla. And I just started uni. Well, my mum enrolled me in uni. I didn't want to go. I just wanted to get a brickies job and play footy. And I was selected to go and try in those days try for Jersey Flag, that sort of stuff. And in those days we had a thing called President's Cup, which is sort of on the 21s, and then from President's Cup we went into grade. They had 3 grades those days. So, to go through a bit of a long process. But, I was chosen to go. But I went to University of New South Wales and it was just too far to travel, and I couldn't afford the petrol, to be honest with you. So I moved out that way. And I'd lived out there since I was 18 or 19 in the Bondi area.
Did you study business? You study business or no? At uni?
I sort of used to do all sort of anything I could do. I'd do anything I could get my hands on just to make a quid. I wasn't that interested in being a businessman as such, to be honest with you. Like, I just wanted to get through my degree and make some money to pay the rent and put food on the table. That's all I really gave a shit about. But it wasn't until I was in my 20s I tried pretty hard to take over the firm that I was working for, to become like the owner of the business. I did a commerce law degree, so I started doing commerce, and once I got my commerce degree, I was still doing my law degree part-time at night. But I was doing when I finished commerce degree, I couldn't wait to get a job, so I had to earn some dough, so I went and worked for an accounting firm, and eventually I did. I took over the accounting firm, became the partner of the firm. And so I guess that's sort of been in business, but more as a professional. Probably wasn't until I was 30-something that I started. Then I went and worked for a law firm for a while, for another 4 or 5 years. And then the firm changed hands, they changed its name, all that sort of stuff, and a lot of the senior partners left. I left, and I started up in a property business. So I started doing property developments. So that's probably the first time in my 30s when I was sort of forced to go into business, and I started doing property work and like doing developments down land and house land packages and shit like that. And but I never thought I'd ever do that. It wasn't a thing in my head that one day you got to go work for yourself. I never thought that.
You never thought that?
No. I mean, I'll be honest here. Like, I just did what was in front of me. I played what was ever in front of me. I wasn't a big planner. But once I got into it, I'd think to myself, okay, well, how can I take control of this or earn more money out of it? And usually that was just by working harder, work more hours. That was usually my process of doing it, which is what my dad did. He would just go and work more jobs, make more money. It wasn't until I was in my 30s I really started thinking about, okay.
It's really interesting.
Where do you go from here?
It's super interesting because my when I left football, my underlying fear was working for someone else. Like, I kind of wanted my ideas to be out there and executing, and wasn't scared to go work out on my own. But very different paths, isn't it?
Totally. Well, I was working in a professional environment, so I was charging people per hour, and
what's the most you charge per hour?
In those days, we're talking about 40 years ago, but probably my final charge I rose about $150 an hour. That's 40 years ago.
What's that in today's dollars?
It'd be $1,000 or more. Be probably $1,200 an hour today, doing what I was doing in those days. And it's good money. But what I didn't like about it, I wasn't getting it all. Was going to the firm, and that part didn't delight me all that much. So, but I'm so glad I work for myself. So, and since I've been 30, like I'm late 60s now, middle 60s now. So, for probably 35 years, I've been just working for myself.
So, Wizard, when did that all start?
Wizard was about 38, 39 years of age, and I only got into that because I was a property developer. So, me and my partner had development. We had to settle. We had to settle on this block of land down in the Southern Highlands, and we didn't have the money. And we bought this property, we paid the deposit. We had a period of time to get it approved for a house land package development, and we had to settle with the vendor, which was the state government, because it's an old school site, like a school site they didn't need anymore. We had to settle with them once we got the DA approved, and the DA took like 12, 18 months, something like that. So, but when it came to settle, we couldn't find anybody to lend us the dough, and we were sort of pretty much pretty nervous, and because we're going to lose our deposit, and they're probably going to sue us for what what the difference between what they would sell it for and what we owed them. So we met a bloke, and who was a mortgage broker, and he got the thing approved. I never knew mortgage brokers existed. He went and got it approved, money approved for us in like 2 weeks. I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And we settled, and we did the development. And I went up and started talking to the guy, and he started telling me how he did it. And I said to him, how big's your business? And he said, I got like 4 partners. And I said, oh yeah. I said, can I buy in to your business? And he said, I'll go to whatever. Anyway, I bought 40%. And I said, look, you're pretty good at what you do. And the other guys obviously were pretty good too. Met them all. They were in their 20s, late 20s, and I was late 30s. And he said, and I said to him, why don't I'll buy in, but on one condition, that we change the name.
What was the name?
Oh, fucking something like Mortgage Acceptance Corporation or some fucking thing. And it was a pretty fucking shit name. And I said, we've got to change the name. And I said, and this is the name I want, Wizard. Only because of footy. Because I used to love Gary Freeman.
Gary Freeman, yeah. Socks down.
Yeah, totally. and I just thought Wizard's a really good name, Financial Wizard.
Did he hit you up for any IP? A bit of a kickback for
No. He would have if he had known. And and I said about the other thing is I reckon we can become Aussie Home Loans, like do what Aussie Home Loans does. And they said, oh, no, we can't. We just brokers. I said, no, you can do what Aussie Home Loans does because I know how to do it. Because when I finished my university, I went and did another degree, a master's degree in something called capital markets. And I understood how you fund these things, how you raise the money overseas. And I saw what Aussie was doing. I always thought, well, I can do that. And this became the vehicle for it. So and in the end, I bought them all out.
All your partners?
Yeah, I bought them all out, yeah, because one main partner was a bit troublesome. Like, he didn't really want to grow it fast. And you know what it was, why I bought him out? I'll tell you what, I forgot about this. It was in 1998.
So you started, was it 96, yeah?
96. Yep. In 1998, the Super League War was on. And it sort of just finished. So if you remember, the State of Origin didn't have all the right play. There was 2 competitions. The State of Origin wasn't quite the same because Super League players couldn't play in it. And Tui's were the sponsor of New South Wales. They dropped out because they weren't getting the TV viewers. They weren't getting the people at the games. It was just everyone thought the world was fucked because of the war. And the war sort of stopped in 98, and the Origin was coming up in May in 98. And I got a phone call from a bloke who was like a head of sponsorship or something at the New South Wales Rugby League at the time. And I knew him. I'd had a few beers with him down, He said, hey, mate, he said, we don't have a sponsor going to the State of Origin. And he said, you're this physical wizard. He said, do you want to sponsor us? And I said, I never knew nothing about sponsorship. I said, I don't know, how much it got. And he said, Tui used to pay us $1 million. He said, you off your head? And
it's still their price now, isn't it?
It's more. And I said, you've got to be mad. And I said, listen, it was like 2 weeks ago. I said, I'll give you 250 grand. I sold my house. I sold my house. I gave him a check for. I got a bank. I said, I'll give you a bank check for 250. I said, give it to me for 2 weeks' time. I said, he said, well, we won't be able to get in the shops. I don't care about the jerseys. Just get the jerseys they wear on the field. We'll screen print them on there. We'll get them on there, right? And it'll be all over the field and brought to you, Wizard New South Wales. He said, I said 250. I said, I want a 5-year deal. Year 2, 350. Year 4, 450, and then 5 and 6 market. And I ended up I jagged it and I got it for 10 years.
Is that a good marketing ploy? Because I look at
in the beginning.
In the beginning was yeah.
But like at $1 million, it doesn't work. But it's a good way to introduce your brand. But what happened is I went to my partners who are in this business, and I said, look, this is what I've done here, 250. I've done this deal. I haven't paid the money yet. But before I pay the money, everyone's got to approve it. And the main other guy who had about 30%, I said, look, what we all got to agree on is if I'm going to spend this money out of my pocket, we all got to agree we're going to make this business a big business. We're going to go for it. We'll fucking go hard. Really go hard for it. And he said, oh, no, I don't know if I really want to be bigger. I'm just happy to get my blah, blah per week and per month and a year. And why don't we just keep it the way it's been going? And I said, no, man, that's not my go. And he said, I said, so if I want to put the 250 in, I said, well, hang on. There's 5 of us in the room. I said, why don't we have a vote? We all voted and he had 30%. So you needed...
Oh, so it's done off equity, not
3
to 2?
Yeah, you're right, correct. You needed 75%. This type of vote, for the company to borrow money, you needed 75, it needed to be a special resolution, so you needed 75% in favour. So we only had 70% in favour. And he was blocking it. And I was fucking filthy. And so were the other blokes. And so what I did is that I said to him, mate, you can fuck off. I don't give a shit about the voting thing because, you're just doing the wrong thing here. It's not cool. Like us as individuals, you're holding us all back. I said, so we'll buy you out. And he said, no, I'm selling. I said, well, you can fuck off out of here. He said, and I was a pretty aggressive bloke when I was that age. And he wouldn't go. So I locked him out. I put all his shit in a box when he went home that night. And I put it out the front door and changed the fucking locks.
What the fuck? Oh, that's crazy, bro.
So he then went and briefed a big law firm and a big accounting firm. And he got an injunction against me and the company from doing business. So it stopped me from doing the deal with State of Origin and everything like that. And, injunction's expensive. And he went to court. So I rang my mate up, because I come from that environment. I rang my mate up, a guy called Mark O'Brien, who acted for the ARL in the Super League war.
Oh, yeah. It sounds
so
funny, yeah.
Mark's a really tough lawyer, like a really tough lawyer, unbelievably good negotiator. Bring him in the room. Other lawyers know who the fuck he is, it's a bit like bringing in, Adrian Morley onto the field, that type of thing. And Brian, and the judge told us we had to go to arbitration, so we spent 3-4 days in arbitration, mediation. And I did a deal to buy this dude out, and I bought him out over a 2-year period and took control of the business and paid the $250 for the State of Origin, and away we went. And State of Origin, to be honest, has launched the Wizard brand, like big time.
It's funny, like you say that, because in terms of branding, like I still remember like the Wizard across like Joey, like
Joey was on the side, and
that's when they were like good before they went on the big run, eh?
Joey, Freddie, I mean, we had an unbelievable team. Dukes, that was a pretty awesome side, Actually, I remember, Jared Hayne, when he first played Origin, he was in one of the later years, probably about 2004 or 5, around that period. I can't remember now.
No, maybe a little bit. It'd be like 6, 7. Yeah, 6, 7.
I remember when he came in, and Ronnie Palmer introduced me to him.
Yeah.
And Ronnie said, this kid here, he was a winger, at the time, he said, this kid here will be the greatest
Ronnie Palmer say that about everyone, bro.
How good a bloke is Ronnie Palmer?
Yeah, he was my trainer at Penrith. He's always up,
How good a bloke is he? I mean, I used to train Ronnie many years ago, go to the gym with him and train with him 3 times. Him and Ricky, him and Sticky. Me, Ronnie and Sticky used to go, we train at, when the Roosters were training at Wentworth Park, we had to move out of Wentworth Park for a while to train. We'd never train him film, we went at Wentworth Park. And I used to train upstairs with him and Ricky like every second day. And I don't know if Ronnie Palmer still has it, but he has this unbelievable handshake. G'day, and he stick his hand right. He's always
with the
friendly.
Finger.
Yeah, and he's really, and it does look like a porn star from 60s, 70s. Yeah. But he's just a cool dude. Like he's really friendly, always super friendly. I really enjoyed his company.
He's still tipsy from the night before on the red wine.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't mind it. He doesn't mind a drink, but he's incredible physique on him for a bloke his age. He must be 70 something now, but like in those days, he had an unbelievable physique. And my memory of that period when we used to train with Sticky was that it wouldn't like he's the most competitive bastard Sticky you've ever met. Like I've ever met, right? So he'd turn up to training. Like so, I train with him Monday, turn up Wednesday. He'd look at my arms. He'd say, "Mate, you okay?" He'd just look at my arms. "You okay?" And I say, "Why?" He said, "You look a bit skinny." Like, and like he's fucking me up. Like he's verbaling me before even like he's in my head before I even sit down and do a bench press or do anything. You know, like he was always competing all the time, and it was sort of fun. You know what I mean? But that was I've never met a more competitive individual in everything he does. Like I bumped into him, unfortunately, at a funeral thing beginning of this year, and I said to him, mate, I thought the Canberra thing, like it was over, like he'd be over that. Fucking still filthy. He just can't. And that's why he was such a good footballer, because like he never give you any quarter, not an inch, nothing on the field or off the field. It's a great trait.
Was it his downside as well to when he was at the Roosters as a coach?
It is a downside too. I mean,
your strength's always your biggest weakness, isn't it?
100%, and you got to know how to rein that part in. I think he has now because he's much more mature. But like when you're a young bloke, a lot of times, as you say, your biggest strength can be your biggest weakness.
Always,
and you've got to be able to take a step back and just say, "Hang on, who am I? What am I doing here?"
All right, the Wizard Blues, we've got a bit of a story. Like obviously, Brett Finch has just signed underneath our YKTR Sports banner.
Finchy.
And he talks about the stabiliser.
So, mate, I bought his boot. Finchy, remember Finchy kicked the field goal?
Yeah.
I bought it. I don't know where it is. It cost me $20,000. I don't know who the money went to. Hopefully not to Finchy, but like he's a character, eh?
Yeah, and he tells that story very well, doesn't he?
He's a gun.
You got the wrong boot, didn't you?
Yeah, you got the wrong boot.
Oh, you'd be burning, wouldn't you? Or no?
I go, fuck. It was going to a charity or something like that, but like, I mean, I'm always getting rorted somehow, like in those sorts of things. But I didn't do it for the boot, to be honest with you. It'd be around somewhere, the wrong boot. It'd be around somewhere. But like, look, many years ago, I remember when Jeff Fennick invited me to a function, and he said to me, and it was a function will raise money for a certain disease that kids get, and they had all the auctions, all the boxing shit, and I thought, well, I should have better buy something, and it was at a really big hallway and everything like that, and I started bidding on Muhammad Ali's like a cape, not a cape, like a gown.
Yeah, it's gown, yeah.
Muhammad Ali's got Muhammad Ali's signature on it, and I'm bidding. Jeff goes, mate, no, don't. I said, well, I'll buy it. It's good. It's cool. It's a cool thing to have. He said, it's not Muhammad Ali's signature. No, he didn't sign it. I went, oh, I didn't. Don't tell me. He said, okay, I'll pull back. Don't tell me who signed it. I don't want to know, right? So that you always ask, you're on a hiding to nothing at those things, I reckon, now.
Yeah.
Especially these days.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
one of the greats, isn't
he? Morley used to, Finchy. Yeah, Morley had that sort of North English accent. The way he used to say Finchy, it was so cool. Like, no, I can't repeat it, but it was really cool. Like, but everyone has paid attention when Morley sort of uttered your name. Finchy used to shit himself.
I'm still scared of Morley now.
Oh, mate, he was off the field, such a nice person, but on the field, like eyes glaze over. Remember when Freddie got knocked by Villasanti?
Villasanti in the GF, yeah,
and fucking Morley laid Villasanti out about 2 minutes later. Like, it just clashed. It just belted him. Like, and Villasanti was a big dude, but Morley just fucking flattened him. And I reckon we won the grand final because of Freddie getting hurt. We won that game because of that.
We had Freddie. Freddie was Finchie's first guest on there, and very similar to Robbo. Like when you talk to them off air, they make everything sound so simple, eh?
Well, and he played like that too. So it's like, I mean, Joey the same. Like you see blokes on the field, they look like they got more time than everybody else. You know, it's sort of like
the great ones always do.
It's like everyone's standing still for some reason, and they're waiting for him to do something. Like they do that to Tedesco these days. Everyone just, well, which way is he running? Well, then he's going to run where he wants. And those same individuals, particularly blokes like Freddie and Robbo, out of the game, but like between like talking to us, it looks like they got more time. They look like they got, I don't know, it looks like there's more space around them intellectually in it or in relation to their subject matter that makes them better than everybody else. And it's a real, I don't know if they know they have it, but it's a real skill that they've either developed or they just had it genetically. I don't know, but
do you think because they got a good bit of aura around them, this sort of the D sort of holds off a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, and the D holds off not only that, but one-on-one, like in an interview too, because there is D in an interview. You know what I mean? Like you're sort of playing with it. You know, you're wrestling with the discussion. You're wrestling with their conversation. Not necessarily in a bad way, but you're still wrestling with it, trying to find your angle where you want to come in. Like you're talking to me, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I mean, I've been on your side. I know what it's at. Like you're trying to think to yourself, okay, what's my next topic? Where am I going to go to with this? Where am I going to take it? What can I do to my audience to make what Mark's saying interesting, etc.? Or what can I drag out of Mark? So you're sort of D around me at the moment. You're moving around me, and you're right. It's like blokes like on the field, they're just saying, where's he going to go? Off the field, you're doing the same thing. You're saying, where's he going to go? You're not sure, and that makes people like Freddie, Robbo, off the field, quite powerful to listen to. Wayne Bennett has made a mastery of it over a long period of time.
What makes him great? Same thing.
Off the field, in front of a camera, he plays a silence game. He plays the game where he gives you a big break like that. And when I give you a big break, you listen harder. And then you start thinking about what I might say. And he hits you up. He hits you by surprise all the time. But he doesn't so much now because we all know what his response is going to be. But before, that was his. That's gaming you.
I reckon when Adolf Hitler used to do his big speeches in front of like thousands.
The Nuremberg rallies.
Yeah, he just sits in silence, like just write it out and then just go bang. And he just had everyone's attention.
Well, when you're making speeches, I mean, and I've done lots of them, like in front of thousands of people. Like I did one in front of 8,000 people a couple of years ago. And I had a guy come and taught me how to do it. And he said the power of silence, the power of a break is ridiculous.
So true, isn't it?
We think we got to keep speaking. But the power of a break is really, really powerful. Like it's giant. And Bennett's a master at it. Don't say very much at all. Jack Gibson, like Jack could give you a 4-word, 5-word sentence without a verb. And Jack, I knew him really well. He's a very super smart guy psychologically. I mean, he game you really well, like your brain in the psychological sense. And Jack would actually say sentences without verbs. He knew how to do it. And
it's interesting.
There's a lot of power in that stuff. I mean, Jack wrote a book, and I've got the book in my office, and it's called The Last Word, because Jack got Alzheimer's disease. That's how he ended up passing away. And with his Alzheimer's, he knew that he wasn't going to be able to speak anymore. So he wrote a book called The Last Word, and it's a book of quotes. It's a pretty cool book. And he wrote in the front of the book, "Dear Mark, think twice before you say nothing." And made me think about it. I don't know what the fuck it means. It maybe mean nothing, but like it's sort of still there. I'll never forget about it. I mean, that's playing with people's brains.
And I always enjoy those types of conversations when you sit there and like, obviously when they ask a different question, it provokes a different thought pattern, different action, different result, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes we sit back and admire the cleverness of it. I do. I mean, like it's just super clever. I mean, like I just love that sort of stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, like I compare it to Trump. Trump's the diametrically opposed to what we just said. I mean, Trump says everything in very, very super, super simple terms, and sometimes it's nearly childlike in the way he speaks, the language he uses, and even the intonations and everything. Like it's very, very childlike. I don't mean childish, but childlike. It's so simple sometimes. It's also quite powerful because it earmarks him, it gives him a character, characterises him. And it's not eloquent, but because it's not eloquent, it actually characterises him. It makes us feel like we're not threatened by him. We feel like he's acceptable. I'm not saying he is, but we feel like he's acceptable, certainly in the early stages. When I interviewed Trump once many years ago.
Really?
Yeah. I because Trump did the TV show The Apprentice.
Oh, that's right.
He owned it.
Yeah.
And he rang me up and he said, well, his people rang me up from New York, said, we're coming over to Australia. Like, we had lots of conversations about different things. But they said, we're coming to Australia and, Mr. Trump wants to meet you. I said, okay. He's staying at the what's called the Regent Hotel. These days it's the Four Seasons Hotel. But he's staying there and blah, blah, these are times. And if you want, you can come and spend some time with him and interview him and film it and put it on your show or, use it to promote the show, which they want me to do because, he got a percentage of everything because he owned part of the show. So I said, okay. So on the appointed date, Trump is there and, I get a message from his office or my people get a message from his people, turn up, and I had to go to the big floor on the floor where he was, and I got there and the PR publicity people all around, they play TV cameras, all that shit going on, and they walk up to me and they said, now look, I'm in my suit and everything, and they say just a couple of rules, first thing is in front of the camera, you've got to call Mr. Trump, because that's how he likes to be addressed. I said, okay. And they said the second thing is he doesn't like shaking hands. He's a bit of a germaphobe. Some people are germaphobes, and it's fair enough. Of course, he's a famous dude. You don't want to touch everyone's hands, which with COVID it turns out to be correct. And then the third thing they said, we don't want you to say anything about his hair. Because it was a long interview. It wasn't a 2-minute interview. It went for 45 minutes. And they said, we just don't want, don't go down in that territory, you know what I mean? And so out he comes, he's got security guys and blah, 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 and he's got the suit. Look exactly like he does when he's when he's a president, with a tie and everything. And I'm standing, the camera's on me. He walks up and said, "G'day, Donald." I put my hand straight out, shook his hand, called him by his first name. He was fucking filthy. And I thought, no, like I'm an Aussie, I'm not going to say, hello, Mr. Trump, forget that, and not shake his hand on camera. So I put my hand, I shook his hand, and he sort of looking, we sat down, we did the interview, and he was full on. Like he was ripping China, like this is 10 years ago. He was ripping China like you couldn't believe. Like it was just tearing shreds off China. Like, and I'm thinking, China's our biggest trading partner, just chill a little bit, And he was going hard. Anyway, when the interview finished and it was all over, and he's sitting there, and I said, he said, how's the show going? And I said, the show's going pretty good. And he goes, I said, did you play? Because his staff had rung up and said, look, Mr. Trump loves playing golf. And I said, and they said, could you get him at the Australian? Because I was a member at the time. And I said, I got some mates who will play golf with him. And so he played golf before he came to meet me on the day. He played golf that day and that morning. And my mates had taken a photo of themselves with him. Two blokes, good friends of mine, took a photo of themselves with Donald Trump at the Australian Golf Club. Two larrigans, And I said, how was the golf this morning? He said, it was pretty good and blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, really? I said, and how were my mates, like so-and-so and so-and-so? And he said, good. I said, they sent me a photo. And the photo was windy and his fucking hair had blown over. And I showed him the photo that they sent me because they sent it for a gig. And I showed him the photo. It was off camera. And look, to his credit, he had a laugh. He said, you got me. Got me good, so I got him good. I got him good on hole 3. Yeah, so Donald shook his hand, and I didn't have to say about the hair. I just showed him a photograph. He said my two mates couldn't resist getting the photo. The moment they got the photo, they sent it to me in about like a minute. You know what I mean? I got the photo.
Is it intimidating talking to someone like that, or?
Yeah. To be honest, not intimidating, but sort of more annoying than anything, because the process of getting to talk to him was more annoying than anything. It's, I guess, I wouldn't know what it's like to talk to him when he's president, because I've never spoken to him when he was president. But those people, they live in a different world, to us. I always try. One thing I try to stay real. I want to be who I am. I don't want to become that thing. Sometimes I get dragged into it, But so it's and more annoying, the process. Don't say this, don't say that. You got to be here at this time. You got to be at that time. You're lucky to talk to them. Those sort of things. I don't know. For me, I think it's a whole lot of bullshit. Everybody, whether it's me, you, or Scott Morrison, or whoever, we're all human beings. We're all doing our best here. We should be doing our best, trying our hardest, and we should all treat each other equally. For me, that's how I see it. And so I get annoyed when I feel as though I'm not being treated equally, and that I'm supposed to sort of bow down. And maybe that's sort of why I started up Wizard, and that's why I've done Yellow Brick Road and lots of different things, because I don't want to feel as though that I'm not as good as someone else, and there's someone up there who's been sitting there for 50 years or 100 years, or they were born into a shitload of money, and that they think they've got something more than me or you. And that's why I do mentor, because, like I was lucky. I got to be in business with Gary Packer. I got to meet Donald Trump. I got to do all these things. I don't know why I did. I just did. I was just lucky, privileged. So,
do you believe in luck?
Yeah, I didn't design any of those things. Like, how the fuck how did I get to do that? Like, why? Why did I meet these guys who wanted to set up a business which happened to be around at the same time as Aussie Home Loans? Like, it was just, if I'd have come in 5 years later, it'd be too late. If I'd have been 5 years early, it'd be too early. So it has to be luck. I didn't design that shit. Like, I didn't sort of, sit down and plan this stuff out. How did I know to do a master's degree in capital markets 15 years before I didn't know that. 15 years, it was just luck that I chose it. I didn't even know what a fucking capital market was. I decided, that looks interesting, I'll do it. And there was no capital market in Australia as such when I was 25. And then when I was 40, I'm living, eating, breathing it with a business called Wizard Home Loans. I can't see the future. So I reckon it is luck, yeah. And I think when you're lucky, that's a privilege. And when you get to experience privilege, taste privilege, smell privilege, live with privilege, which I have in the last so many years, you've got to learn how to have gratitude towards that. And if you don't, you're a shitbag, and your gratitude means don't just, I feel gratitude, don't just talk shit. That's what mentor's about. I pay it forward. If I've got something no one else has experienced, I'm privileged to get it, lucky, then privileged, then my obligation is to pay that forward. Is to share that with you, share that with anybody else, share my story, be honest, tell the story, tell the truth. And it doesn't matter if someone doesn't like the way I express it, or did I do something that was aggressive, like, put that bloke's shit in a box out the front of my office. I actually regret doing that today. I wish I hadn't done it. It was an aggressive move. But at the same time, it's part of my story.
Makes a good podcast though, isn't it?
Fuck yeah. But also, but back in those days, I would have poshed him too if he had stood up to me as well.
Yeah, really.
I bloody oath. And I'm not proud of that either. But point is, it is what I did. It is part of my story. So it's telling the truth, and it is paying it forward is telling the people the truth, as to showing them that you're not some sort of fucking demigod who's, always made all the right decisions and not beyond reproach. I reckon it's one of the reasons why people voted for Donald Trump, before 16, because they said the bloke's fucking real. He's made mistakes. He's nearly gone bankrupt. He's had a million Sheilas. To some extent, it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It might not be good. And if you can sort of say, I learned from all those experiences, then that's okay.
Sort of touching on something that a lot of people haven't experienced and you passing it on forward. What's it like when you sell for like 500 million?
Well, it's a lot of money, I know. And
obviously it changes your life when you look at it, but do you feel any different? Or?
Let me tell you, this is no joke. The settlement, the day you get the dough, was on the 4th of December, 2004, right? I had to fly to New York because the company who bought it from me is based in Stamford, in Connecticut, just outside New York. So I had to go there and receive the settlement proceeds, right? In my case, it was one piece of paper, just one piece of paper with a bit of stock, which is worth a lot of money, okay? Because of the time differences, it was being settled here in Australia, but it had to be, I had received my thing in New York. I went and booked in a really fancy hotel, right? So, fuck yeah, I booked myself in the Four Seasons Hotel. It was like, in those days, I don't know, $1,000 a night or something. I booked in for 4 or 5 nights. I was there on my own. I wasn't married or nothing. I was by myself. Like, I had kids and stuff like that. But I was in the hotel.
Jesus, sounds dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, you know, like I've been working on this deal for 7 months. I was fucking deal fatigued. I was really tired. You know, everything was, because anything can go wrong at the last second, you know.
Roosters lost the GF against the Doggies.
Yes, correct. And Sonny Bill Williams. That was a big game for him too, you know. And Hodjo was playing for us in that game too. I remember it. And anyway, so I get a call from their lawyers and my lawyers, you know, go and meet so and so. You got to go to this office in New York. And I picked it up. You know, you said what it's like. I'm sitting with a piece of paper, and I thought to myself, what the fuck? Like, is this what it is? Is it that it? Like, you can't wash yourself with it. You can't wear it. I mean, you can't do nothing. I went back to my room about 11 o'clock, and I'd ordered a pizza. I had a pizza sitting there on my own and a beer out of the fridge. So it was a massive anticlimax for me, like a massive. I mean, don't worry, I was happy, but the only thing I thought about at the time was I'll never have to worry about money again. That was the thought that was in my mind, and my family would never have, my dad, no one's ever having to worry about money again.
Is that sort of a peace of mind at the time?
It was peace of mind. Yeah, it was, for me. It was peace of mind. But I mean, I don't want to sound like some sort of brat, but it wasn't as good a feeling as you'd expect.
I can see that. To be honest, I can see that. Yeah,
sitting there by myself at 11 o'clock at night, eating a pizza, drinking a beer. I'd rather be at home with my mates at that time, you know, hanging out or watching footy or something. You know, I was just turn on CNBC or something like that and watch American TV. And
did it ever cross your mind? You're like, well, how long do you got bored again? Or at the time, were you like, I'm never going to have to work again? Or were you already thinking of the next thing?
I was already thinking of the next thing. So I'm never one. I'm not interested in never. I'm not someone who never wants to work again. I mean, it's not my go. I mean, like, what am I going to do? Play golf? It's, you know, like, you can play 9 holes. I mean, I'm bored after 9 holes. I'm not a good golfer anyway. So you know, I mean, like, I'm not that sort of thingo about it. You know, like some people are. I'm not. I don't know. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, get on a boat and cruise around the world, and then by myself, or you're going to get a girl, or, you know, take your kids maybe, or I don't know. Like, it's nothing really changes here. Everybody's got their own thing in their life.
You'd always be half worried that the girls were fit for the wrong reasons and stuff
100%,
as well. Yeah,
100%. Like, you know, and by the way, you will end up going for the wrong girls for the wrong reasons too.
That's true.
You know, like, you know, you got a pile of money, you start, all of a sudden you look more attractive and you're looking at the wrong girls for the wrong reasons as well as they're looking at you. I mean, it's symbiotic. I mean, it's both parties. It was an anticlimax. I'm not undermining it or whatever, but it was an anticlimax for me. To answer your question, how do I feel? I mean, I was really interested in what I was going to do next. What should I do next? How should I go about it? Look, that amount of money is a certain amount of money on a certain day of a certain month of a certain year. It doesn't. The next day changes. So the share price of the shares I got the next day went up or down. It's either more or less. And over time, they can either go up or down. And then you might sell some of them, sell some of them, buy something with the money that you proceeds, and it might go up or down. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's sort of it's dynamic. It's not constant. It's not static. It's just moving around the whole joint all the time. So all it did was mark an achievement day for me. That's probably what it was the best way to describe an achievement day, to achieve something.
You sort of, like, I read like a lot of books and stuff as well, and a lot of people that end up playing sports and like winning like a Super Bowl or GF, they sort of feel unfulfilled after the back of that because they've aligned themselves as winning a GF being like, that's it, I've done it. And then afterwards they feel like a little bit lost. Sort of sounds very similar, doesn't it?
You know, it is. Very similar. Very, very much the same. And because the thing that I really enjoyed was the arm wrestle. Like, it was building the business, meeting really cool people, watching people do really good. You know, watching the business build out. I mean, in hindsight, going through the tough times as well. There was a lot of tough times in that business. Then doing the deal to sell it, and then finalising the deal to sell it, and convincing my partners that, you know, that Kerry was my partner, that we should sell it. You know, to the arm wrestle, selling it to the world's largest company. That's at the time, you know, the company I sold was the world's largest company. The next day, I picked up the paper. There it was in the Wall Street Journal. It was, you know, it was the biggest acquisition they'd ever made in the world.
Wow.
So it was a big deal. That's a bit like what you say, you know, about you read, we won the grand final or won the whatever, and, you know, reading maybe you see it for the next week or a few days in the paper. But after that, you think, well, now what?
Life goes on.
Yeah, I've got to get back to Australia now. When I get back to Australia, what am I going to do?
Buy a house or anything?
No, didn't do anything. No. So, well, I bought a car. I bought a car in 2004, in December 2004. I bought an Aston Martin because I always loved James Bond movies and always wanted to buy one. It was something I always wanted, and I bought one. And I hardly ever drove it. I still own it. It's got like 7,000 kilometres on it. I never drove because it's really low to the ground. I kept ripping the thing out of the bottom of it, so it just sits in a garage. And but that's anything I went. That's anything. And a watch. This watch here, I've still got the watch. I bought this for myself. This watch I bought myself a gift, and I still wear the watch today. So that's all I did. No, I didn't go buy new shit.
We're treating that a little bit different than that.
Well, I could have gone and bought a boat and all that sort of stuff, but like I'm not a boat guy. You know what I mean? Like somebody buy a boat. You know what the fuck? And I already had a farm, and I've made some improvements on my joint, stuff like that. But look.
You look at someone like Warren Buffett. He still lives in the same house too, doesn't he?
Well, what can you? I can't eat better. Like, what am I going to go start buying smoked salmon? What am I going to do?
Get gourmet, bro.
Yeah, well, I get better pie or a better beer. The beer's the same, I can't go say, listen, I want the $28 bottle of beer instead of the $6 bottle of beer. I can't go to a different, better pub. I can't go to a better gym. What is it? What can I do?
Yeah, up the pokey slaps to $10.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm not that type of dude. There you go. I'm not a gambler either, so I don't play that game. And I'm not a big drinker. These days, I was when I was younger, but not around that time. When I was much younger, I definitely was. I'm lucky I got it when I got it, when I was like 48 or something, because if I had been when I was young, I probably would have fucked it up.
I think about that with YK. If I had this when I was like 20, there'd been office party here every weekend. Like
Friday nights.
Yeah. Everyone come back here. So obviously you run a podcast called The Mentor and you do mentoring for a lot of people. I thought, while I've got you here, I'll try and tap into that brain of yours.
Gather it.
Scaling the business. It's a little bit scary. Everyone thinks starting a business is scary. I think that's like the fun part. Now we're at the point where we're trying to scale to this next little lot. So say we're like a 7-figure business now. How do we get to the next? How do we go about that?
Scale. Well, I think the first thing is probably more me not giving you answers, me more asking you questions, because mentoring is not about answers, about questions. You know the answers. I don't. I don't know your clothing industry for a start. I just don't know it. My question to you would be, if you are going to scale, is there demand in front of you, or do you have to create the demand?
A bit of both. Like our return customer rate's like 65%, which is super high for our industry. But in theory, I think we can scale out because I feel like our content is relevant, because the way we build our content is just by documenting the journey. And like a lot of people do want to start a business, and I talk about that. And I've shown the journey from me having nothing and shipping out clothes from my house. And then I pretty much tell everyone how we do everything. So I think that's always going to be scalable because people want a different life. Yeah, my opinion.
That conceptually, but in terms of, say, selling more gear.
Oh, yeah.
So is there pent-up demand out there for your stuff? Are you saying to me I'm going to go from 300 T-shirts to 3,000 T-shirts? Is that what you mean by scale? Or what do you mean by scale?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. That's a great question.
Yeah, but because then when you say, Mark, I reckon I could do 10,000 T-shirts in a run, as opposed to 300 in a run in a week. Okay, I can do 10,000 a week. And I'd say, well, okay, how have you tested that scale? In other words, the demand. You scale to meet demand, okay? So I'm going to say to you, where's the demand? Explain to me where the demand is. Or alternatively, demonstrate to me how you're going to create the demand. Now you're going to say, yeah, but I'm really good on, I got all these outlets, I've got the show, I've got Instagram, I've got blah, 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 and I know you do know this, because I was actually, one of the things about you, I was really impressed with. You understand digital media and you actually know how to digitally market. You're good at that shit. So I would say you demonstrate to me, though, how you were going to get to more sets of eyes who are your audience that you can clone. You know your audience, you can clone your audience, and you go knock them off. You go buy them from Facebook or whoever, Google. And so I would ask you then to show me how you're going to who you're cloning, how well you've cloned them, where'd you get your data from, how good your data, how fresh is your data, how relevant your data is, and then who you're going to clone it through, what's the cost of cloning, and then I would ask you, then I'd say in terms of scaling, let me understand your overheads and your costs relative to your price. And then that's assuming you had to create the demand. And so I want to know a full package of the scale outcome and why you're doing it. And I'd want to make sure you're going to make a profit relative to the amount of time and effort and exercise in the exercise. And how you're going to, they're not going to say how you're going to fund it. Funding is important. I mean, scaling, generally speaking, means a lot more costs. I mean, it might be a lot more revenue, but with a lot more revenue comes a lot more costs.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned, because I've obviously run different types of business. I sell online courses as well, and obviously, like, I sell a $1,000 online course, and that $1,000 comes in. There's no like cost of goods. There's no shipping.
Okay, yeah, that's different. So, like, if you're saying to me, Mark, I'm going to put an online course, I'm going to just write it once, and I've got to.
That's the best. Yeah,
yeah, totally. And that's how you make money while you sleep. I mean, my business, lending money, I make business while I sleep, because people are paying me off for 25 years. My cost is in 18 months. It cost me 18 months worth of income to lend you some money. So I make no money on you for the first 18 months because all my costs are up front. So I've got to advertise, I've got to market you, I've got to sell the loan, I've got to approve the loan, there's people I've got to pay to do all that. And then I've got to pay commission to the dude who brings the deal to me. So, and I pay, we pay a big upfront commission. After 18 months, it's all mine. So that's a good scalable business. But I've got to have the upfront money to scale it. So I've got to be able to spend the money. I spend the money day one to get the deal done, to get the deal settled. So, and I don't make any money then for 18 months. So it's a scale.
It's a high customer acquisition cost, isn't it?
Correct. So scaling in that business is about having the money to scale. It's about funding and making sure I've got a product that the market wants. So my pricing is right, my product features are right. So I would say exactly the same thing. So, but when it comes in T-shirts, I would say the same thing. But if you're talking about courses,
courses is the easy side for
which
me.
you do once.
Yeah.
You just got to have a good, solid website which is robust and able to take payments and actually able to pump out the stuff that these people want, the course itself. Then that type of scalability it becomes an awareness campaign. How do you tell people about how good this fucking course is, and how do you keep the course relevant or meeting their demands?
Yeah, that's the side like where probably I make my most money now. Like when I look at this business model here, it's product based and it's dependent on sales. So if we don't get sales, this business doesn't grow. And
it's hard to scale.
Yeah.
So in relation to your courses, tell me about your course.
So online courses, I like pretty much everything that we talked about on the mentor one time. I talk about like Facebook advertising, Shopify, email marketing, branding, sort of mindset, sort of basic goal setting as well. And then I always add stuff onto it. So logistics, 3PL, third-party logistics, pricing strategies, like the decoy strategies, different tactics that we've used in the past that have increased, like LTV and all that sort of. I talk about all that sort of stuff, and then sort of dive into my screen and show them the types of Facebook ads that we run, like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. 80% of your money should be in top of the funnel and creating new customers, and then bottom of the funnel is just DPAs, where you look at this water bottle here, this is going to follow you around for the next 7 days. So I talk about all that sort of stuff as well. Yeah,
the science of, I guess it's sort of about the science of collecting data and making sure, and collecting people that you can follow around.
And then off the back of that, I will build a community where it's sort of like a page where everyone sort of comes to. And then, like, obviously, if someone's got potential and they want to move into this clothing industry and move to China, I can introduce them to the right people and create a network.
So, what do you charge? What do you charge for
that course? $1,000.
And how long does the course go for? Is it chapters or what is it?
Yeah, so there's like six modules in there. There's an accounting one as well that I've got my accountant coming to do as well. But I think it's about 46 videos. But I'll just keep continuing to start to add.
And you update?
Yeah.
And so, scaling for you, then, as long as making the assumption that, to answer your question, if I make the assumption, or you make the assumption that that your content is relevant. In other words, in this period while everybody's trying to do a side hustle, everyone's got a job. Like they're trying to do something. And by the way, and as long as you promote yourself or present yourself as somebody who is a good proxy for what I want to do as a person who might want to buy your course. So I really like what you do. I want to be you. So you got to tell me about you. You got to convince me why you are somebody I want to copy, and that you know what you're talking about, and then you tell the world about this. You'll get scale. But you've got to be patient though. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, the Yellow Brick Road business, right? We do $1 billion, $1.1 billion a month in loans. Okay, it's taken me 10 years to get there. It didn't happen overnight. It took me a long time to get there. Just now am I breaking even this year?
Really?
Yeah. Just this year, because my costs have been following the growth out of the cost of follow the growth at a faster rate. And because, as I told you, every 18 months.
And start the crossover. Yeah,
I'm on the crossover period. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so you've got to be patient with this, and you've got to continually have a relevant product. So you've got to be looking at your product all the time. I mean, my product's changed maybe 10 times over the 10 years for a mortgage. You know, interest rates obviously change, but the features change. It's just changing all the time. So scientifically, you've got to be on top of your product in advance. So you can't change it when it's too late, like after everyone else has changed. So you've got to look at what all the other courses are that are being offered. And as my course, and by the way, are people still trying to do side hustles and trying to sell T-shirts and do what I do? I mean, because there will come a time when that's done and people stop wanting to do that. Well, you'll saturate that market. So then because you've got a big audience and because you build a good reputation, then you've got to work out how you pivot your product, change your product.
I've got a few ideas already.
I bet you have. Well, no, because you know this shit too. I mean, you do know it. And the good thing about it is you've done it. It's not just someone preaching about how to do it. You've actually done it.
It's like the old never trust a skinny chef. You know that
100%. Or a sober one.
So I'm big on sort of morning routines and habits. I think I've heard you talk about this one time, and one part that really stood out to me is I think you say hello to the barista in the morning. Is that important for you?
Yeah, 100%.
But do you want to talk about your morning routine?
Yeah. I'm an early riser.
What's early?
4:30 max. Sometimes earlier. Sometimes 4, but not much earlier than that. But, you know, it's 4:30. I have a dog. Take my dog for a walk, quick walk, because I've got a German Shepherd and he's not that friendly, so I have to take him for a walk with no other bastards around. So, of course, it's less brain damage for me. I take him for a quick 20 minutes, just a couple of kilometres. I've done that. Put him in. I quickly get my coffee going at home. I have a coffee. I've now got a coffee machine, like a proper coffee machine. You know, like when you make yourself. I have a coffee, and then so I do that. But the night before, I got all my shit prepared. So gym clothes, work clothes, everything sorted. I'm out the door the moment the dog comes home. Go put my stuff, get straight out the door, go straight to the gym. I train. Try to train. I do something every day. Sometimes not on a Sunday, but just generally speaking, every day. So I'm usually in the gym no later than 5:30, and then I do my exercise. And straight after that, I go straight and get myself a breakfast and coffee, and I go to the same joint.
Every day?
Every day.
What do you eat?
Depends, but like when there's nothing going on and I'm not trying to strip weight or whatever. Like I usually have a fight once a year, so if I'm trying to lose weight, I go through a 12-week period. I've got to drop weight. So if I'm in that period, I'm 2 boiled eggs. I have a coffee, 2 boiled eggs. That's it. And before I leave home, I have 2 dessert spoons of porridge in water. It's 30 grams of porridge. That's it every day. And that sort of settles my guts down before I train, and then I have that like 45 minutes before I train. Then I have a coffee at the same time. But when I have my breakfast after the gym, it depends if I'm stripping. I'm just doing 2 boiled eggs and no toast, nothing like that. It's just a coffee. Then I eat, 4 times a day. Have something mid morning, something lunchtime. But I'm pretty strict on my food during that period because, generally speaking, I'm probably around about 88 kilos when I walk around, but I try to fight about 80 under light heavyweight, like under 81 kilos. So I usually got to.
You got to strip a bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair bit of weight, but yeah, I can lose it pretty easy. I know how to do it now. I can sort of lose it fairly fast. But if it's not doing that, if it's just normal time of year, I will have for my breakfast. I have what do you call it? Omelette, vegetable. Look. I'm so bad. Like I've been going to this place for 19 years, 20 years. I sit at the same table, eat the same. I don't even have to order my food. They know whether I'm stripping or they know whether I'm not stripping. They know, and they give me my meal. And I've been through 3 sets of owners, and each owner sort of works out pretty fast. And so I just sit there. And one stage they used to reserve the table for me so no one else sit there. But it's so bad now that these guys were going to move. And I thought, fuck, I can't let them move. So I own a building about 5 shops away from them, and I let them go into my shop, in my building. They're now my building. So just so I can't lose it because it's too important to me in my life. And I go there, and my son, my oldest boy, he runs the hotel in that building, so it's his hotel there. And so they're there now. And so I do that, and we're actually moving the mentor business down there in one of the parts of the building there. We're just about stripping it out now.
Geez, must be some good eggs.
They're the good eggs. It's in Darlow. They're good people too. It's a cool area. It's a cool spot. And then after I go straight to work, I get changed, shower at work, get changed, I'm into it. And then lunchtime I go across. My cousin owns a cafe thing across the road. I go across the road there, and I'm pretty strict on my food. And at night I'm again pretty strict on my food. I like to eat before a certain time at night. I don't like eating after 7 p.m. If I'm going to eat after 7 p.m, I'm not going to eat. And I'm pretty strict about how I go to bed. So like, I don't
bedtime routine as well.
Fuck yeah! I got things I do. I don't look at my phone after a certain time, and I don't get fuck who rings. So I'm not going to look at it, like, because it's always going to be bad news. Emails, anything you get late, usually shit. You know what I mean? Like I got a landline home. If my kids need to ring my dad, that's cool that they can ring me on that. I know
that's old school, bro. A landline,
yeah, totally. Well, it's only for them. That way I know if it rings, it can only be them. And if that's something I've got to answer. But if it's any other one punting, then I'm not going to look at it. Just not look at the phone. And then I try to get to bed. I try to be in the bed, watch a bit of telly, but I try to be in the bed 9:30, 9:45 or something like that. And because I'm going to get up, I get up pretty early. So that's sort of my routine. I'm having, Mark Hunt, the fighter. I'm having dinner on Friday night. I said to Mark yesterday, I said, mate, I just got to go. I'm able to go to dinner. We'll do dinner, but I want to leave at 8. I'll meet you 6, and just like I'm not going to drink, and I'm just going to do a little bit. We're going to talk about businessy stuff. So, and I'm going to catch up because he's fighting Gal. So I just want to catch up and see how he's going.
Who wins that?
Well, mate, Gal's a really good athlete, and he's super fit. He'll be super fit. And he's younger, and Gal's he's had maybe 6 or 8 bouts. So he's a pretty good boxer, Gal, and he's tough. I mean, you remember when Junior Paulo hit him? He's a tough mother. He's a strong butt. He's got a good chin. He's got a good uppercut too. He's got a good chin. Mark Hunt, though, on the other hand, mate, he was a big striker in UFC, and he's fought on at the big stage, like big time. And I reckon Gal might be a better boxer, but I'd say Mark Hunt's much more experienced in the ring. They tell me he's pretty fit at the moment, but I wouldn't want to get hit if Mark Hunt hits Gal. I don't know, maybe 1 or 2, but if he hits him twice, I reckon lights are out.
Crazy.
Yeah, mate, that UFC shit, like, he fought giants, like Brock Lesnar and those guys. They're giants, absolute, and they're killers. They just fucking. Ugh. He's tough, mate, and he can throw him. He moves around. He was a really good kickboxer many years ago. Like he moves really well. The only thing is, I'm not sure Gal might
box him.
Yeah, he might just box him and stay away from him. If Gal wants to fight him, but that's a bad move. The other thing too is I heard that they're trying to change the rounds from 3 to 2s, 2-minute rounds. That'll suit Gallen. Mark Hunt's used to fight in 5-minute rounds in UFC, so most people wouldn't sort of last the distance. And it gives him an opportunity. A 3-minute round will give Mark Hunt an opportunity to settle into the round. Because at 2 minutes, Gal can go hard and try and gas him. That might be. I don't know. It's going to be really good. I'm going to go. It's out at the Parramatta Stadium, new Parramatta Stadium, because Tim Zoo's fighting that night too. So it's a good card that night.
He's good, eh?
Yeah, he's good. I like him. He's got good attitude. I really dig Tim Zoo as a bloke and as a fighter. Like, he's got a lot to live up to, but because of his dad, he deals that really well. And I actually think he's got it. He's a tough kid. He can take a punch now. I didn't know about that before, but he's demonstrated he can take a good whack. He's got plenty of patience. He's got all skills. And he's fully going for the Aussie thing. Like, it's cool. Like, it's great to have a young fighter who's Australian, who wants to be identified as Australian and wants to fight for his country. And I think that's good. It's good. It's good from a spectator's point of view.
All right, last question for me. I love asking this, and I've got like 3 more. I've reached out to a couple random people. So, how do you define success?
I got asked this many years ago. I did a show called The Australian Story on ABC, and they asked me that question, and I'm sticking by my answer. Success is measured by the family you raise. There is no other measurement. Nothing. And for me, the rest of it's they're all sideshows. Business is a sideshow. Everything else is a sideshow. It's about the family you raise, and probably to some extent the company you keep. So, we're all part of a family. And I don't mean your mum or your dad or your kids necessarily, if you might not be in that category, but just your family, the people you consider to be your family. And the family you raise. And raising is not just seeing them from a baby to the day they, graduate or whatever the case may be, but it's more the family you raise. You raise all the people around you who you consider to be your family. You raise them in some way. You are part of their lives. You enhance them. You encourage them. You help build them. You give them wings. But at the same time, you don't control them. You just let them fly. But you're there to pick them up when they fall down. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes with that.
And that's what gives you your biggest kick?
That's what I like. And I look at my businesses. If I'm looking at how successful my business is, I look at who's in the business. And that's my family. That's my business family. And what have I raised? What have I taught them? And, I've got to be like a parent a lot of times. I've got to be tough on them sometimes, Like I did a post last week on my Instagram.
We were talking about this.
Where one of the young blokes, Jono, he's a good kid. He's smart, intelligent. I really like him. But he's not going to get better unless I fucking give him a clip every now and then. Just like your kids. I mean, not literally, but like just, mate, fucking name up, start thinking about what you're supposed to use. That brain God gave you. The reason I've employed you got a fucking brain. Like, use it. And you don't need a license to use your brain. I said, you don't need a fucking license to use your brain or something like that. But like, it worked. And it worked on Instagram, but it worked for him. And that's why we did it. Because I actually gave him a real toweling, like a couple of days before that. So success for me is watching him get better. Success for me is watching anyone and things that I do. I mean, and to some extent, and I really appreciate you inviting me here today, but to some extent, the football family is important to me, and you're part of the football family, and you were on my podcast. So anyone who's been on my podcast, I find them as they're sort of in a broader part of my family. Seeing them do good makes me feel good. It's very selfish. And I'll be honest with you, like I'm a selfish bastard in that regard because I want to see people that I'm associated with do well. And that's one of the reasons why I share what I got to share, because it gives me it spins me, a bit. It makes me feel good. If I see you do good, I feel good if I've helped you in the slightest way.
You actually got me plenty of work off the podcast I was on. A few people come in for consulting sessions and stuff.
Cool, that's cool, and that makes me feel good. Like and if I'm selfish.
I'll give you a clip later.
Well, it's funny, like if I was a super self-centered bastard, I'd say, oh, where's my go? And and some blokes, I know them, who get dark on that. They say, oh, fuck him, he's doing well because I helped him.
I put him on.
Yeah, totally. But for me, I'm self-centered too, but I say, no, he's done good. I'm actually happy that he's done good. That's good for me. That's enough. I'm happy enough with that. And if you look at it like that, that's the way I measure my success.
That's awesome, bro. All right, couple of questions. Any examples of business ideas you've funded that have been super unique?
That's a good question. Well, obviously I funded the Wizard one, sold my house to do that. That was super unique. Yellow Brick Road the same. I put a lot of money into that. Yellow Brick Road was a super unique idea at the time. It was about a full package of looking after particularly younger people. It was about democratising financial advice. In other words, making sure that young people, particularly when they retire, well, from the day they start earning money, they start understanding the importance of retirement. I'll be honest here, it wasn't that successful because the government made it so hard for me to give those people advice without having to have all these massive compliance environments because of the Royal Commission that it no longer became financially viable for me to do it. It was costing me $2,000 to give a person to earn $50,000 a year. It cost me $2,000 to give them advice, and it cost me $2,000 to give someone who earns $500,000 a year the same advice. So I could charge the guy who's earning $500,000 $5,000, make $3,000, but the person who's only making $50,000, I can't charge him $5,000. I can't even charge him $2,000. So that business didn't do so well at the end of the day. So they're probably my two examples of where things that I funded that Wizard and Aussie and Rams, we changed the landscape of how deals are done or mortgage deals are done in the country, and it's sustained itself, it's maintained itself right through to even to today. So there's two examples of things that I've funded. I guess that I've been involved in I don't normally invest in, I have been more recently, but I don't normally invest 50 grand, 100 grand or just, fund someone into an idea that's a good idea unless I'm actually involved. Because all that happens is I end up getting dirty on them a little bit. Like I start thinking, oh, fuck, I wouldn't do it that way. And I don't have control of the business, so I can't tell them what to do. And I'm not entitled to. I shouldn't be doing that. It's not cool. So generally speaking, I don't invest in things like that unless I have an element of control or participation in control. Because all I do is get frustrated. Like I own part of a business called Hustle Boxing.
I know that those boys come in for a meeting one time.
Yeah. And I did it through my eldest boy who played footy with those guys. Well, Timmy McGann, he played for West Tigers for a while. I know Timmy quite well. I know his dad. And I put some money in that with my son. And, it's at the time it was a great little concept, but the COVID hit, it stuffed everyone in the gym business, although they're doing really well now. But I get frustrated with it sometimes because I wouldn't do it that way, but I'm not the managing director. I'm not the CEO. I mean, I can't go telling them what I think you should do. I mean, they ask me, but you can't ask me. I mean, I help them out, but you can't ask me in isolation. Like it's about 1,000 questions. I mean, I need to spend 2 days on it, and I'm not going to get paid for it. And at the end of 2 days, I might not listen to what I've got to say anyway, or they might not execute it properly because the idea or the strategy is pretty good, might be good, but mate, then you've got to execute, and you know how hard execution. You're building strategy on the run, or you're building new tactics. You're being tactical on the run. You can run on the field with the best strategy in the world. Then all of a sudden you've got to start being tactical on the field. And you've got to start saying, well, hang on, that's not working. I've got to put a ball on the inside. Same in business. And so I can't actually go and, because I don't have any control of the business, I can't actually give them advice because I just know that tactically it won't end up being executed that way. And that frustrates me. I mean, not in a bad way, but I just, I get a bit weird about it, and I start thinking about it. I start sweating on it, and it's better for me not get involved.
Best money tips for someone in their 20s?
Yeah, that's well, I think the first thing, if you're in your 20s, is the thing you don't have any, assuming you got no assets, right? You got nothing. You're not a wealthy kid or whatever. You got to remember one thing in terms, you got to be able to earn money. So the money tip is not about what you do with the money. One, don't spend it all. Keep some, save a bit. But the best tip to make money is remember one thing, is your personal exertion is your biggest asset. So if I was to put it in mathematical terms, if you could buy a building that could make you $100,000 a year, generally speaking, that building would be yielding 5%. So that means that the building's probably going to cost you $2 million. So if I then said to you, look, you can earn $100,000 a year, that means you're worth $2 million. So you've got an asset. Fucking look after it. If I gave you the building that's only $100,000 a year and it's a $2 million building, you would look after it. You'd make sure that it wasn't treated like shit. If you had tenants or whatever the case may be, you would make sure they weren't ripping the railings off, or they weren't, causing damage to it. Well, don't do that to yourself. If you can earn $100,000 a year being a labourer or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're worth $2 million. That is your biggest asset. Look after it and make it fucking work. Make it work for you. So that is a money tip.
I'm a little bit more diverse towards, I think for wealth, obviously when you get a wage, you get taxed at certain amounts and you get taxed a lot more than sort of business owners. But I always encourage people to try and get equity in something. But then I realised not everyone's sort of made for business, are they?
Nah, they don't. Not when you say not, hardly any to me, to be honest with you. They don't have that mentality. And it's tough. Business is tough. You're fucking thinking about it all the time, 24 hours a day sort of thing. It's always there. And as I said, you're on your own. No one's going to help you.
No one.
I mean, they can give you ideas, but your guy is going to sweat it.
Time management. How do you? We sort of touched on
routine. Strict structures, strict routines. It doesn't mean it's like that all the time. I mean, every now and then I sort of Christmas. But I try to give myself downtime. But I'm a backfiller, so I give myself downtime when that time arrives. I don't say, wow, it's Friday night, tools down, it's my fucking weekend, I don't work on weekends. I don't do that, you know what I mean? I do what has to be done. But then when I do get an opportunity, I backfill. I give myself some free air and I go out and try and smell the roses and enjoy myself a little bit. But it's about having structures around you, for me anyway. I have to have structures around me. And I have really strict routines, and I have people who do things for me. So I'm not very good on my diary. So on the way here today, I was ringing my, person who looks after my diary manager. I was ringing him saying, like, what's the address? Where have I got to fucking go to? Bring him up and tell him 10 minutes late. Like, I'm lucky but I employ someone to do that stuff. Otherwise, I'll fuck it up. So that's a time management thing. Diary is a really big thing for me, and I'll double book people and stuff. So I have someone who books my diary, manages my diary, and then I make sure that they're available so I can ring them and say, look, where am I going? Exactly, you know what I mean? Because for some reason I put Ralph Street in Alexandria, and it didn't come up on I've got the Hilux there, and the GPS is not great on it. So she then put it in Google and told me sort of where to go.
What if you get the Aston Martin back up?
It doesn't have it. It was 2004. 2004 doesn't have it in there.
All right, last question. Kerry Packer, what's the biggest lessons you learned from him?
Well, I think Kerry, many, but Kerry used to always say things to me like, if the money's on the table, take the money off the table. So, what he meant by...
If money's on the table, take the money off the table?
Yeah, so...
Don't show people what you got?
No, what do you mean? No, well, that is one thing. Don't layer off. But, what he meant by that was, whenever you want to borrow money or raise money, you won't be able to. That's because it's usually for some reason, it's the hardest time to get money. Mm. If people are offering you money, I want to come into your business, I want to invest in your business, or if you don't necessarily need money, but like the government puts out a scheme where you can go borrow money, the government guarantee it, or whatever the case may be. When you don't need money, that's the best time to get the money, and don't. In other words, don't say, "Oh fuck, I could do something better here," or "I don't really need this now." The money's on the table, take it off the table, just put it in the bank, leave it there. Kerry always used to say that to me. He said, because when the time comes when you need the money, you won't be able to get it. So if you're an investor and they put the dough on the table, sure, you might be able to get a little bit more. Don't be greedy. Do the deal.
Fuck, that's really interesting.
Always. Always, he said, always, every time. And you watch the way he gambled. As soon as he started winning, he took the money off the table and he left. He always left. He never said, "No, I'll put it back, bet it all again on red or black, whatever." He didn't do that. He took the dough, scooped off, walked out. So he was there for 2 minutes or 3 hours. As soon as he started to get on the roll, bang, out.
What's the most you ever seen him bet?
Oh, millions.
Oh, fuck.
Millions. And it wouldn't be unusual for him to drop 10, 20 million.
Playing what? What's he playing?
Oh, blackjack.
Yeah.
They're like just play. He'd have his own section. So like they would make this section especially for him. And he used to have. I mean, when he used to stay, I remember one time I went there in Las Vegas. And he was staying in the Bellagio, and he had his like where he stayed was like a house, like a massive apartment type thing, And he said to me one time, he would just go. He said, "I'm just going to play a few cards." And I said, "Okay, I'll go with you." And and then he's got a cook, 24-hour person just standing there, like they made a little kitchen for him just there, so he can have whatever he wants to eat whenever he wants. He didn't drink, so. And then the person, whatever you call it, the dealer was standing there ready for him 24 hours a day for his own table. Fuck,
what a life, huh?
Yeah, but he could make 20 million or drop 20 million like in a heartbeat. Yeah, it was chicken shit. Then it was all boogie money for him, but it didn't make much difference. But
yeah,
it was. That was a big lesson from him. Always take the money off the table. And he used to always say to me, he said, "Whatever happens, understand the purpose of your business. I mean, ultimately, what is your business? Why are you in business? What is your product doing? What emotional?" He didn't use this word, but what emotional demand are you fulfilling? So if I'm selling T-shirts. Are we trying to make like you are? Are we? I'm not buying a T-shirt because I want to wear a shirt because I can't go naked, or I'm buying a shirt because I want to stay warm. I'm buying your T-shirt because it represents something in an emotional sense. So what is it that you're fulfilling for me? And make sure you keep delivering it to me in your market. I'm your market. What is it that I like about wearing one of your T-shirts? I feel what? And that's it. He said that emotion, you always got to know. That's your purpose. And you said you got to keep it feeling, not what you think not what you think it should be. What is it? And make sure you do the research. Know what they like about it. Why do they like wearing your shit? Why do they do your course? I mean, what's the reason people do your course? I mean, do they feel secure? Is it about just knowledge, not knowledge, but it's beyond that. It's not just knowledge. It's beyond that. It's about feeling as though they can actually achieve the thing they want to achieve, their lifelong dream. Like you're playing into the dream. In my business, our business, the Wizard business, he said, you are fulfilling people's hopes and dreams. You're not lending them money. It's about their hopes and dreams. Their hopes and dreams are about buying that house they always dreamed about.
I talk about this with when I talk about marketing with Qantas, like they don't, like when they do their marketing campaign, they're not showing you a ticket, like buy this ticket. No. They're showing you like the drone shot of the plane and you in the pool and all the kids running around.
Your dream.
Sell the dream, yeah.
It's sell the dream. And he was big on that. Massive on that. Always pulling me up about it, especially when we did advertising campaigns. He said, the message is shit. It's no good. Your delivery of the message is, the imagery is not right or something's not right.
I think I've sort of noticed that just in this little conversation here, like you pay a big attention on branding. Obviously, like the Wizard was mine. When you sat down here, you're like, oh, fuck, this is a cool bottle.
Yeah.
Is that always at the forefront of your mind?
It's a big thing. Yeah, totally. I mean, shapes are important to me when it comes to physical branding. I mean, shapes, texture, and what is it suggesting to me? I mean, that actually suggests to me a bottle of whiskey, a bottle of gin or a bottle of vodka or something. It's sort of like, it's playful.
It reminds me of like a potion on like PlayStation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's for me, it's the playfulness of it. So to me, I don't even drink water. I have to have flavour in water because I like taste of it, generally speaking.
Sorry, bro.
That's okay. But this has given me it's playful, so it's made it more interesting. So playfulness is a big deal.
One of the old footy boys when I used to go out when I was younger, he goes, if you can make a girl laugh, you can make her do anything.
Yeah, well, yes.
Same with marketing, isn't it?
Knicker droppers, like a funny guy, chicks love funny guys. I really do.
They could be the ugliest dude in the world too,
Well, but you look at all the really great comedians, mate, they got hot chicks because they're funny bastards, that's pretty cool. I mean, like, not everyone looks like Sonny Bill Williams, you know what I mean?
Nah, I wish. All right, Mark, I just want to thank you for your time and jumping on. I've really enjoyed this chat and your wisdom, so I appreciate you.
Sweet ass. Thanks for inviting me. It's been really cool. I've enjoyed it.